The moment that still burns in my chest happened at my sister's house, right in front of everyone. She looked at me, then down at my kids, and smirked before saying, "No room for your discount. Store kids at this party." I swear the room went quiet, like even the music flinched. I didn't hear laughter or gasps at first, because all I could see was my daughter's face as her smile collapsed, and her eyes filled with tears she was trying so hard not to let fall. In that second, I felt something snap inside me, and I walked out without saying a word. But what I did after that, I still don't know if it makes me a hero or a villain. So tell me honestly, if someone humiliated your children like that, in front of family, what would you have done? To understand how it got that far, I need to go back, because this wasn't just one cruel sentence. This was years in the making. Growing up, my sister and I were close in age, but worlds apart in personality. She was always the golden child. Perfect grades, perfect clothes, perfect smile for outsiders. I was the quiet one, the one who helped our mom clean after parties while she posed for photos. She had a way of walking into a room and making it hers, while I lingered on the edges, watching, listening, learning how to avoid being noticed. Our parents loved both of us, of course, but there was always that subtle weight of expectation that followed her. It wasn't intentional cruelty. They just somehow adored her more because it was easier to celebrate what everyone else could see, her accomplishments, her charm, her style. When we became adults, the gap only widened. She married rich, like not just comfortable rich, but house with a gate and a fountain rich. I married for love, and life didn't exactly roll out a red carpet for us. My husband works hard, I work hard, but between rent, school fees, and groceries, there's not a lot left over. Our kids wear clean clothes, loved clothes, sometimes second-hand clothes, but they are good kids, kind kids. And I was proud of that. I wanted my children to grow up knowing that love mattered more than labels, that character mattered more than designer shoes. I wanted them to walk through life confident in who they were, not in what they wore. My sister, though, made money her personality. Every conversation somehow turned into vacations, brands, or how exhausting it was to manage staff. At first, I brushed it off. I told myself she didn't mean harm, that she was just insecure in her own way. But then came the comments. Little jabs at family dinners, "Oh wow, you still shop there." Or I could never put my kids in those shoes, but hey, kids don't care, right? She always laughed after, like it was a joke, and everyone else pretended not to notice. I noticed. My kids noticed too, even if they didn't say it out loud. They would glance at me after she spoke, silently asking for reassurance that they were okay, that they were loved, that they mattered. And I would squeeze their hands under the table, whisper, "You are perfect just as you are." Even as my heart ached knowing her words had already planted doubt. I tried to protect them. I limited visits. I declined invitations, but then came the party. My sister was throwing a huge birthday celebration for her son. Inflatable castles, catered food, entertainers, the kind of party kids dream about. It was the kind of extravagance that made you want to gasp and hate yourself a little for what you couldn't provide. My kids heard about it from cousins and classmates because of course they did. They asked me if they could go, their eyes hopeful, voices filled with excitement. I hesitated, unsure if exposing them to her world would hurt more than it would bring joy. But then my sister called and said in that fake, sweet voice, "You're coming, right? Family is family." I took that as an olive branch. Maybe she was trying to be better. Maybe I was being too sensitive. I spent days preparing. I made sure my kids looked neat, hair combed, clothes ironed. My daughter picked out a dress she loved, one we found at a discount store, but that she thought made her look like a princess. She twirled in front of the mirror and asked me if it was okay. I told her she looked beautiful because she did. On the drive there, my stomach was tight, but I kept telling myself everything would be fine. I whispered to them, trying to sound confident, "Go have fun. Remember, this is your day too." The party was exactly what you'd expect. Huge, loud, expensive, other parents in designer outfits, kids running around with toys that cost more than our weekly groceries. My sister greeted us with air kisses and barely looked at my kids. I already felt out of place, but I told myself to endure it for their sake. They ran off to play, smiling, laughing. For a moment I relaxed. I watched them disappear into a swirl of colors, balloons, and laughter. I felt a pang of pride. My kids were happy, resilient, undeterred by the glaring wealth around them. Then it happened. My daughter came up to me holding a cupcake, happy, until my sister walked over with a group of her friends. She looked at my daughter's dress, then at me, and said it, that line, "No room for your discount, store kids at this party." She said it loudly, like she wanted everyone to hear. Some people laughed awkwardly, some looked away. No one said a word to stop her. My daughter froze, her lower lip trembling, eyes watering as she looked up at me, confused and hurt. I could see the words echoing in her head. Discount, store kids. She didn't understand why her aunt hated her, why her clothes could make her unworthy of love in that room. I felt heat rush to my face. My hands shook. I wanted to scream, to slap her, to say every cruel thing I'd ever swallowed. I wanted to shatter the glassy smiles of everyone around us, but I looked at my kids, saw how small they suddenly felt, and I just said, "We're leaving." I took their hands and walked out while my sister rolled her eyes and said something about people being too sensitive these days. I ignored the quips. I didn't want to argue. I just wanted to get my kids away from that toxic environment before it left permanent scars. The car ride home was silent except for my daughter quietly crying. She asked me, "Mom, are we poor?" That question broke me in a way I can't fully explain. I told her no, that we were rich in love, that some people just forget how to be kind. But inside, I was raging. That night, after the kids were asleep, I cried in the bathroom so my husband wouldn't hear. He was furious when I told him, but he also felt helpless. "She's always been like that," he said. "What can we do?" I had no answer. I hated that I had to protect my children from their own family. I hated that our lives, our values, our love were somehow lesser in someone else's eyes. That's when I decided I wasn't going to do nothing. Not anymore. I didn't want revenge that would make me look petty or cruel. I wanted something that would teach her a lesson, something that would expose her for who she really was. And the opportunity came sooner than I expected. A few weeks later, I found out my sister was planning a charity gala. She loved charity events, not because she cared, but because they made her look good. This one was for underprivileged children. The irony almost made me laugh. She posted about it constantly, asking for donations, bragging about the guest list. And then she called me. She said she needed help organizing some things because I was so good at that stuff. I agreed, and she didn't sense a thing. She thought she was manipulating me into polishing her image. She had no idea I had already been planning my own subtle retaliation. I helped her plan that gala meticulously. I contacted vendors, coordinated volunteers, handled guest lists. All the while, I kept my eyes open. I listened. I noticed how she treated people she thought were beneath her. The caterers, the cleaners, the volunteers. Always polite on the surface, but dismissive, condescending. And I documented it, screenshots of texts where she complained about cheap donors, of voice notes where she mocked the kids the charity was supposed to help. I didn't provoke her. I just let her be herself because her behavior would speak for itself louder than I ever could. The night of the gala arrived. It was glamorous, cameras, speeches, applause. My sister stood on stage talking about compassion and inclusion, her voice dripping with fake sincerity. And then it was my turn. She had asked me to say a few words as a volunteer coordinator. I stepped up to the microphone, heart pounding. I looked out at the crowd, then at her. She smiled, confident, smug, like she was expecting praise. Instead, she got truth. I started calmly. I talked about why the charity mattered to me. I talked about children feeling excluded, judged, made to feel less because of what they wear or where they come from. I saw her smile falter, then I did it. I shared my story. I didn't name her directly at first, but the details were unmistakable. A wealthy family member, a party, a cruel comment. I quoted her words exactly. No room for your discount store kids. The room went dead silent. You could hear a pin drop. I turned to her and said, "This is why kindness isn't a performance. It's who you are when no one thinks it matters." Gasps rippled through the crowd. Someone started clapping, then more people joined in. My sister's face went pale. She tried to laugh it off, but it didn't work. People were whispering, looking at her differently now, and I felt vindicated. Not triumphant, not cruel, but satisfied that finally the weight of her actions would land where they belonged. After the event, the fallout was immediate. Sponsors pulled out. People questioned her sincerity. Family members who had stayed silent before suddenly found their voices. She called me screaming, accusing me of betrayal, of ruining her reputation. I told her she did that herself the moment she decided my kids were less than human. And in that moment, I realized something important. The truth has a power of its own. You don't have to twist it, manipulate it, or yell it to be heard. It finds its way, and when it does, it changes things. In the weeks that followed, my life didn't magically become perfect. We're still not rich, we still shop at discount stores, but something changed. My sister stopped making comments. She avoided us at family gatherings. My kids walked a little taller. My daughter wore that same dress again to school one day, proud. And I realized that standing up for them was worth every ounce of drama, every sleepless night, every moment of anxiety before that microphone. I realized that sometimes the hardest thing a parent can do is fight for their child's dignity in a world that underestimates them. So was I wrong? I still ask myself that sometimes. I didn't lie, I didn't insult her, I just told the truth. And if the truth destroyed her carefully crafted image, maybe that image deserved to be destroyed. What I do know is this: no one ever gets to humiliate my children and walk away untouched. I won't allow it, not now, not ever. If you were on my side in this story, please like this video. If you want to hear more real, messy, emotional stories like this, subscribe to the channel. And seriously, I want to know your final thoughts on this whole mess. So share them in the comments below. I'll see you all in the next story.